Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Greetings, I'm Hassan Muradi, and in this video and the echoes from the Quran channel, I will continue the discussion from the previous episode about God's writing and different kinds of divine books. In the previous video, I explained the clear book, Kitab al-Mubin. In this video, I will discuss the books of an individual and a community which are copied from the clear book. I will also speak about the meaning of reading the book and how the human being is taught through the God's existential pen. In the previous video, I said that existential writing, like existential speech, is the creation of things in the world. The creation of a word means the descent of a meaning that exists in the higher levels of God's knowledge into lower levels, taking an imaginal or material forms. Just as we revealed hidden meanings within ourselves through speaking or writing, existential speech and writing are the manifestation of knowledge and the meanings that exist in divine essence into lower realms. Istinsakh, copying a book from a higher book, means that the knowledge of higher book descends and becomes detailed in a lower level. I also explained that the levels of God's knowledge begin with the realm of the unseen or divine treasuries, khaza'inul ghaib. Below that is the level of the mother of the book, al-Kitab, and below that is the clear book, Kitab al-Mubin. The revealed verbal scriptures like Qur'an or Torah are themselves a form of the descent of the clear book into the form of words. The book of a community or an individual is also copied from the clear book. Every higher book or imam has existential dominance over the lower one. The inner and the outer dimensions of the lower imam are fully present and known to the higher imam. God says that on the day of resurrection, you will see every community sitting on its knees in fear. Each community will be called toward its own book, will confront the truth of its deeds, and will be requited by the very reality of its own actions. They will be told, this is our book, which speaks to you in truth. Indeed, we used to copy what you used to do. وَتَرَى كُلَّ أُمَّةٍ جَاثِيَةٍ kneeling. كُلُّ أُمَّةٍ تُدْعَى إِلَى كِتَابُهَا. Every community will be called to its book. الْيَوْمَ تُجْزَوْنَ مَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Today you will be recompensed for what you used to do. هذا كتابنا ينطق عليكم بالحق. This is our book which speaks to you in truth. إنا كنا نستنسخ ما كنتم تعملون. Indeed, we used to copy what you used to do. Al-Jasiyah 29. The word Jasiyah, kneeling in fear, contains the point that the resurrection is the day when the inner truth of the world stands upright, while the outward image of the world collapses. When the truth of divine unity and God's overpowering reality becomes manifest, the imagined multiplicity of creatures dissolves. Being called toward the book means an existential encounter with the book of one's own life. Community or an individual moves from the fragmented, time-bound, space-bound perspective of this world to a unified, timeless perspective in the hereafter. In that state, a person or community can see their entire life at once, without the limitations of time and space, much like how in dreams we may see events of the past or future. The phrase we copy, nastansikho, does not mean that God writes a list of deeds which you will later read. Rather, it means that in the hereafter, each person or community returns to the book that contains their inner truths and their deeds, and they confront it directly. Reward and punishment are nothing but the inner reality of one's own actions. For example, if someone unjustly consumes the wealth of an orphan, in the inner reality of this world, they have consumed fire. On the day of resurrection, they will face the truth of that act and experience it as painful or delightful. In the hereafter, a person meets the very reality of their own deeds, and that is their recompense. Because in the game of this world, humans are ego-centered and absorbed in imaginary concepts of winning and losing, progress and decline, they cannot perceive the true beauty or ugliness of their actions. But in the hereafter, as multiplicity feeds and worldly illusions dissolve, a person perceives the true nature of their deeds. The totality of a person's or a community's actions forms their book, and on the day of resurrection, they will meet this book. This partial book of a person or community is copied from the universal book, the clear book, Kitab Mubin. As explained earlier, the clear book is an existential book. The actions of a person or community with all their causes and consequences are recorded in an existential manner. Just as turning the page of a book does not destroy the previous pages, none of a person's past actions are ever lost. In the hereafter, a person or group can perceive their entire book of deeds. The difference between the clear book and the book of an individual or community is like the difference between a movie stored on a computer's hard drive and the same movie displayed on the screen. Another point in the verse is the phrase يَنْتِقُ عَلَيْكُمْ, speaks to you, which indicates the existential superiority of a book, of a community over the people of that community. The clear book and the book of the community copied from it belong to the existential level that is the cause of the material world and the cause of the community's existence and actions. Therefore, when judgment is made based on it, that judgment is entirely true. For example, when we say that a character in a story we have imagined performs certain actions, this narration comes from the higher perspective of the creator of the story and cannot be doubted. For this reason, the Quran says, our book, Kitabuna, the book belongs to God and to the chain of existential causes of the individual or community. Everything said about the book of a community also applies to the book of an individual. Every human being can meet the entire book of their life in the hereafter and see it fully unfolded without the limits of time and space. وَكُلُّ إِنسَانٍ أَلْزَمْنَاهُ طَائِرُهُ فِي أُنُقِهِ. We have fastened every person's destiny to his neck. وَنُخْرِجُ لَهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. And on the day of resurrection, we will bring forth to him كِتَابًا يَلْغَاهُ مَنْشُورًا, a book which he will find spread open. Al-Asra 13. Please we bring forth the book نُخْرِجُ لَهُ means that in this world the book is compressed and hidden within the person. But in the hereafter, when the inner reality is unveiled, the book emerges from its hidden state. It is important to note that the resurrection is not a temporal event, but a state of human beings. In this world, humans are trapped in the illusion of multiplicity, but through the stages of resurrection, they gradually realize the multiplicity is a mirage. Existential clear book becomes a verbal book so that humans may reflect and use their intellect. Alif Lam Ra tilka ayatul Kitab al-Mubin. These are the verses of the clear book. Inna anzalnahu Qur'anan Arabiyya la'allakum ta'qilun. We have sent it down as an Arabic Qur'an so that you may understand. Yusuf 1 and 2. حاميم والكتاب المبين إنا جعلناه قرآنا عربيا لعلكم تعقلون. We have made it an Arabic Quran so that you may understand. Az-Zukhruf 1, 2 and 3. Understanding leads to guidance, and guidance brings glad tidings of salvation from the world, and beyond that, the encounter with God. تلك آيات القرآن وكتاب مبين هدى وبشرى للمؤمنين, guidance and good news for the believers. ونزلنا عليك الكتاب تبيانا لكل شيء. We have sent down to you the book as an explanation of all things, and as guidance, mercy and glad tidings for those who submit. وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين. Al-Nahl 89. Thus the verbal clear book is a book of light, Al-Ma'idah 15, and it contains accounts of Moses and Pharaoh, Al-Qasas 2 and 3. The purpose of narrating stories in the Quran is not merely historical instruction. Each story has a symbolic dimension that makes its lessons timeless and universally applicable. God says that He wrote for Moses on the tablets an admonition and a detailed explanation of all things. Moses is told to take them firmly and command his people to follow the best of what is in them. وَكَتَبْنَا لَهُ فِي الْأَلْوَاحِ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مَوْعِظَةً وَتَفْصِيلًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ فَخُذْهَا بِقُوَّةٍ وَأْمُرْ قَوْمَكَ يَأْخُذُوا بِأَحْسَنِهَا سَأُرِيكُمْ دَارَ الْفَاسِقِينَ. Al-A'raf 145. These tablets seems to be understandable both to Moses and to the people, since both are commanded to take from them. When the Quran says that everything is written in the tablets, or that the Quran explains everything, does this mean everything related to religion and ethics, or literally all sciences including mathematics and physics? It appears that everything refers to everything related to guidance, because another verse says that in the tablets there is guidance and mercy for those who fear their lords with reverence. في نسختها وفي نسختها هدى ورحمة للذين هم لربهم يرهبون. Al-A'raf 154. The word admonition indicates that the primary purpose of the descent of the clear book in the forms of tablets and words is moral instruction. At a deeper level, for certain individuals, it may contain the details of all things. Considering the relationship between the existential clear book and the verbal clear book, one may infer that everything is present in the verbal book in a symbolic way, though this does not justify deriving empirical sciences from Scripture. Now that the meaning of the various books is clear, we must ask who is the reader of these books and how can they be read. When the first revealed chapter commanded the Prophet Muhammad to read, it did not mean reading an Arabic text, since no such text yet existed, and Prophet did not read or write in the conventional sense. Rather, it means that he must read what God has written existentially. Whatever God has written with his existential pen in the existential tablet, the Prophet must read in an existential way. If writing is the descent of the divine treasures into the world of existence, then reading is the ascent from those words back toward the treasures. Only one who has descended from that realm can ascend back to it. The writing is infinite, then the reader must also be infinite. How then can a human being read what God has written? اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Al-Alaq 1. God says, read in the name of your Lord who created. This means that human being can read the book of existence through the divine name of his Lord that it carries. His Lord created the human beings from alaq, a clinging substance. خلق الإنسان من علق. Al-Alaq number 2. Alaq comes from the roots of connections and attachment. The embryo alaqeh is a thick, clinging blood-like substance. Thus, the human being has a deep connection with his Lord. The connection comes through the divine breath. وَإِذَا صَوَّيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. When I have shaped him and breathed into him of my spirit, and through the teaching of all divine names to Adam. And through the teaching of all divine names to Adam, he taught Adam all the names. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Al-Baqarah 31. These names are not verbal, they are levels of divine light. One who knows these names can understand how the entire world is created from the combinations of existential letters and words. God commands reading a second time, saying that the most generous Lord is the one who taught by the pen and taught the human being what he did not know. اقرأ وربك الأكرم. Read, and your Lord is the most generous. الذي علم بالقلم, who taught by the pen. علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم, taught man what he did not know. The teaching of divine names and words by the existential pen must occur through an angelic mediation such as Gabriel, and the tablet in this case is the human heart upon which knowledge is inscribed. Thus, the command to read may refer to reading the word or reading the heart. The command to read one's own book in the hereafter applies to everyone. Reading the book there means understanding one's own deeds, seeing and comprehending their inner reality. Read your book today, your own self is sufficient as a reckoner against you. Considering what's said about the Imam Mubin, the heart of the manifest Imam is the very clear book in which all creatures are realized. Just as there is harmony between the existential clear book and the verbal clear book, there is equivalence between the existential clear book and the heart of the Imam. There are also individuals who possess knowledge of parts of the clear book or even lower levels of the mother of the book. This knowledge is not merely theoretical. It includes the ability to perform acts of existential descent. One who attains the levels of existence can create beings in the lower realms, though always under God's ultimate authority. In the story of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, when Solomon asks for her throne to be brought to him, a powerful jinn says he can bring it before Solomon rises from his seat. But a man who had knowledge of the book says he can bring it before Solomon's glance returns to him. قال الذي عنده علم من الكتاب, the one who had knowledge of the book said, أنا آتيك به قبل أن يرتد إليك طرفك, I will bring it to you before your glance returns to you. An-Naml 40. This shows that knowledge of the book is not merely theoretical, it is operative. The world is like the mind of such a person, and he can erase or establish things within it, just as we can imagine moving an object from one place to another place in our mind. Since his knowledge is partial, his power is limited. But the Quran mentions only one case where someone possesses the knowledge of the book, and that person testifies to the Prophet of Muhammad. Say, God is sufficient as a witness between me and you. وَيَقُولُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَسْتَ مُرْسَلًا قُلْ كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكُمْ. God is sufficient as a witness between me and you. وَمَنْ إِنْدَهُ عِلْمُ الْكِتَابِ, and so is the one who has knowledge of the book. Ar-Ra'd 43. This person's testimony is placed alongside God's testimony, indicating an exalted rank. If partial knowledge of the book enables someone to move a throne instantly, what power must complete knowledge of the book grant? Discussion of the books will continue in the next session, because the Quran explicitly states that no calamity befalls the earth or yourselves except that is already written in a book before we bring it into existence. ما أصاب من مصيبة, no calamity befalls the earth والأرض ولا في أنفسكم, or yourselves, إلا في كتاب, except that is in a book. من قبل أن نبرأها, before we bring it into being. أن ذلك على الله يسير, that is easy for God. Al-Hadid 22. In other words, everything in the world has a fixed written term. Every community has a book that determines its lifespan and the time of its destruction. This time is neither advanced nor delayed. ما تسبق من أمة أجلها وما يستأخرون لكل أجل كتاب. Ra'd 38. وما أهلكنا من قرية إلا ولها كتاب معلوم. Al-Hijr 5. For every term there is a book. We never destroyed a town except that it had a known book. Every town will be destroyed before the day of resurrection, or severely punished according to what is written in the book. There is no town but that we will destroy. وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. Destroyed it before the day of resurrection, أَوْ مُعَذِّبُوهَا, or punished it severely, أَوْ مُعَذِّبُوهَا عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. This is written in the book. كَانَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْكِتَابِ مَسْطُورًا. Al-Isra 50. Understanding these verses, which speak of decrees written before our actions, requires a non-numerical understanding of divine unity. The outward meaning suggests determinism, but in the next session we will explore how these verses can be understood. Thank you for staying with us so far, and I hope you will follow the continuation of this discussion in the next session.